Welcome again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, and this is episode 80. Uh, it's crazy. I never thought I was gonna even make it this far. When I was starting the podcast, I didn't know where I was gonna go with it. I said during the pandemic, I had no idea. Um, I'm gonna even make it to episode 80. I had no idea that I'm gonna get as many guests as I've had so far on the podcast. I've had a ton of guests. I've had a ton of different topics, conversations with amazing people, and there's still a lot of people that are coming to talk on the podcast about multiple things, about different things, and I'm super excited. Also, I want to thank everybody that started with me and still with me, um, listening to this podcast, sharing. Uh, Sending me feedback. I'm like, hey, Bonnie, this episode really touched me a lot. Like relating it to your life, like the recent one I just got from Hassan, who is from Hoima, and he was relating his life to see how he grew up in a community where it's an educated community, but to see that these kids get encouragement in their lives to achieve, like that makes me happy. Mujevale, Mujevale, Mujevale. My name is Bonny Kibuuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. That's the reason why I'm doing the podcast. That's the whole reason why I started doing this podcast, to just impact somebody's life. Somebody from Uganda, somebody from around the world. That's why I bring a lot of people from different parts of the world, more especially people from Africa. And most of my guests, some of my guests are from different countries of Africa. And I'm going to record an episode with a friend of mine from Zimbabwe, which it's cool. Like I get to sit down with these people. Not only do I make this podcast for you guys to listen to, but for me, I love stories. I love getting to know people, and I think my new workmates at work can tell. Like it's part of my life. Like I want to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, know who they are, and I loved that. That's why I was like, I need to bring these stories to the world, to the people, so they can know our stories and some of the things that part of our lives. Like the last two episodes I had, we're talking about high school, like how high school life was. I'm so excited and I'm thankful to God that I made it this far, to bring these episodes. So, and this is episode 80. So in episode 80, this is an older episode that I recorded, I think like 2 months ago. Um, I recorded by myself, and I was just reflecting on life. I was reflecting on who I was and who I was not. I did that because today I'm blessed to work on airplanes. I'm blessed to live in the United States, and some of my friends back in Uganda, they will look at that on, especially on social media. Social media is good, but also it's bad at one point, because people will see you posting pictures where you're in the United States, where you are working on airplanes. They'll be like, oh my gosh, this kid, and they start assuming stuff like, hey, I think he grew up in a rich home, but that's not true. I didn't grow up in a rich home, and this is what I break down in this episode. I talk about who I was and who I was not, and I just wanted to relate my life to a kid who is going through that at this time, so just to remind them that I was not this person, and you could be that person, and you also can make it to where I am at this point. So it's the episode that I recorded a while back, and I want you guys to listen to it and listen to some bits of my life as I relate to my old life and my current life, and what made me stay on track to be where I'm at today. I share a lot about all that, but I'm super excited. I'm super happy for my podcast, and but before I take you into the episode that I did, I'm going for today, there's a few things I want to pass on the podcast. Most of you who follow me on my social media saw that I moved, and those of you that are watching me on YouTube, you can see that the room I'm in is different from all the rooms that I've been in recording the podcast. I actually bought a house, and I'm in my own house right now, and I'm trying to make this my new studio. Trying to build up. So there's a lot of additions I'm gonna do on this. And with that being said, having a house and trying to get everything together, those of you who are homeowners, you know the adjustments you need to do on some things that come with having a house. So I've been pretty busy, and my work has been pretty busy. So I might take a week or two working on the podcast on the side, also catching up with other things. So I'll put up some notice on my social media handles about how that's going to look like. But a week or two, but I should be able to come back with more stories for you. And there's a lot of guests that we have online, so don't think that he's out of guests or he's trying to run away. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to catch up and not strain myself in recording this podcast. But yeah, here is the episode, and I hope you enjoy, and I want to hear feedback from you guys, so enjoy this recording. Sometimes I like to come on the podcast by myself to talk about my life and what's going on in life. And I remember last time I was here, I talked about mental health. And from that time, we have had a lot of people come on the podcast to talk about mental health. I remember I hosted Dr. Jackie, who talked about mental health, especially for the people in a third world country. So how that looks like. Um, but today, actually, I got this when I was at work. I'm like, what do other people think when they look at me? Especially, I don't compare myself with anybody, but like, what do the kids in Uganda think when they look at me? One of the kids, not kids actually, he's a guy. He sent me a text the other day, and he said, I appreciate your humbleness. And on my Instagram, I put a poll up uh, to ask people if they think I'm humble. And actually, those who voted, I know. And those who voted no, I see how it is. But I work on myself. But yeah, so this kid said, I like your humbleness. And that made me think, huh, he thinks I'm humble. And that's, to me, is a compliment. Like somebody to think you're humble. I never want to be proud. And if I've ever been proud to anybody, I apologize right now. And I apologize. I want you guys to forgive me. I never want to let my pride take over me. I'm not like that. I'm from a humble family, and I always want to be a better person. But when I was thinking about that question, like, what do other kids think about me? What do other people think about me? People who look up to me right now, and they see, I mean, some of the things that I've been able to achieve, like what goes into their head. When I was at work, I thought of um a topic to do, and this topic is what I wasn't versus what I was. Yeah, what I wasn't versus what I was. Most of the people can look at me today and they don't really know who I was when I was little, when I was young. And that's most people. You might have had a little bit on my podcast talking about my background, but in this episode, I really wanted to talk about who I was for the people who have just seen me at this time to know what my life was before the Bonnie you're seeing today. And I'm gonna do this in a kind of verses, what I was versus what I wasn't. I'm gonna list all the things that I was not. And then at the end, towards the end of the podcast, I'll list the things that I was. I was not born in a rich home. My parents are not considered rich people. my dad being a pastor, my mom working in the church, we all know. I mean, today many pastors make a lot of money from churches, but my parents, that's not their goal to make money from the church. Actually, our church was small and they were not making any money from the church. My dad had a little side business that he was doing to make sure he takes care of us. He had like a stationery where they sell like things you use in school, stuff like that. So he sold that and photocopies, and that's how he was trying to sustain us. And my mom was in ministry. She works as a she works in child evangelism fellowship as a Sunday school teacher. So it was just donations. So I wasn't really born in a rich home. Our family was just like that in ministry. I was not taken to the best schools in the country. Um, we had good schools. We had really good schools in Uganda. The kids always dreamt to go to, but I was not. I went to actually local schools. Um, I went to Naluvle Rock Primary School throughout all my primary education. It was a school that was like 8 miles from my house, and I went to that school. It wasn't the best school, but it was not the worst school too. So it was like a moderate school or medium school, like not bad, not good, just in the middle. But I'm privileged, like I'm thankful that I was able to go to that. But people who are seeing me today, don't be lied to. I never went to those fancy schools in Uganda. And to the kids listening out there, I'm just talking about this because I want you to know that no matter where you are, no matter what schools you're going to, you don't have to go to fancy schools to become somebody important later on in your life, you know? And that's what I'm trying to put out there. Um, I was not the smartest kid in class. Uh, Most people don't know, but my primary was rough. And I remember in P2, I brought back a report card at home, and I was a 58 out of 58 students. That was my position in class, 58 out of 58. And at that time, they would put our report cards in an envelope, so you didn't really know what you're taking home, but you're taking a report card. So I took that report card to my dad, and my dad spanked me. Like he beat me really, really good, real good. Because like I told you in the beginning, our schools take a lot of money, and my parents sacrificed that money for me to get an education. So for me to bring back a report card like that, it was not acceptable. But thank God that was just mid-term. No, that was just a second term. So it was not a promotion term. So I didn't have to repeat a class or anything. But I just wanted to put that out there to tell the kids that one time I was the last in the class. I was not the kid with the most snacks at school. Um, my dad would give us like 20,000 shillings for the whole term. And I know there's a lot of other kids in school that were not even able to get the 20,000 shillings. But 20,000 shillings is like $5 or something like that for 3 months. And that's the money like you had to use. But I'm thankful that I was able to get the 20,000 shillings. Emitwalo ebiri nga gye twala ku ssomero kwe kuli ebintu, sukaali, everything. That's how my school was. But again, I want to say, because I know the kids that are not even able to take the 20,000, but the kids that took more than that. And that's what I'm trying to put out there. I was not a student with the best grades in the UNEB, like for, I mean, I told you a little bit about my primary. I actually failed a class. I failed P6. I'm gonna how do they say, confess this on the podcast. I failed P6. I failed math. And at that time, they said that whoever fails math won't go to P7. And I was so proud. I thought I was like smart. I used to brag with my brother, and I was so full of pride at the time. But it paid off that I was made to repeat P6. And I repeated P6. So most of you now you know I repeated a class in primary because of bad grades. But when I went to P7, actually, my grades changed. I was still not the best student in the whole school, but I performed good and I got a first grade in P7 and senior four. I was able to get a division one. Um, thank God for that. But I was not the best student too. Don't get me wrong. There are kids that got uh way higher grades. And Form 6, I was not the best, but I managed to pass. But I wasn't always like number one. So you don't really have to be number one all the time. But again, I'm saying like you don't have to sit back and relax. You have to work harder. You have to work hard, even though you don't get the best grades. But what I'm trying to put up is like you don't have to have the best grades in school to be a useful person, yeah, in the future. Some people have not gone to school and they're useful in the country, they're useful in lives. I was not the most talented kid in sports. I uh sometimes they would bench me. We played soccer. They would bench me because there were more kids that were there were kids that were more talented than I was. Um, so I struggled on that too. I was not really talented, especially soccer. There was a lot of kids that played really good soccer, better than I did. Um, and later on, when I grew up, I was never I was not brought in the US by my parents. And I don't want to take this away to those that came to the US through their parents. That's a blessing. And it's not nothing to take away from them. But I was not brought here by my parents. Um, I just came. And for those of you who think that my parents were behind me coming to the United States, no, I was not. I was not very knowledgeable. Like I didn't know a lot. I'm still not very knowledgeable, but I'll talk about that in what I am. I was not given a high paying job. Um, Speaking of this, like even after I came to the United States, I cleaned toilets for a long time. I would clean toilets. I would sweep. I would do a lot of things to give me money, and I was paid minimum wage. I think the minimum wage at the time was like 7.65. So I was being paid $7.65. Now I know that money is a lot back in Uganda to get to be earning the kind of money. But what I'm trying to say, like in the US perspective, that's not really a lot of money. But I didn't really care because that's what was available at the time. Um, I was not even. This is back in my childhood. I was not a kid that had all three meals a day. Like my dad would struggle to have money to buy lunch, to buy a dinner, because I told you he was working at a stationery. So he if he didn't sell stuff, like usually in the holidays when schools are closed, he's not able to sell. So he doesn't make a lot of money, and sometimes would skip uh lunch. Like a saying we used to say, "Awunywa obuji, nga tunywa obuji ng'okaseerera." Most of my friends back in Uganda, you remember the saying "okaserera." Uh, but I was not all that. I was not. And for those of you who look at me today and say probably this kid was this, I was not. I was not. But this is who I was. I was a kid that was very hardworking. Even at my younger age, I was really hardworking. I'm still hardworking because I know even if you get an opportunity, you still have to work hard and use every opportunity you get. Don't there's a saying in Luganda that I want to say, Tori nyamomazi gonywa, like don't ever break any opportunities. Just take every opportunity. And there's a saying also that says there's no missed opportunity. The opportunity you miss, somebody else is gonna take it. So somebody else is gonna take an opportunity. So there's no missed opportunity. If you don't get it, somebody else is gonna get it. So that's who I was. I was very hardworking, and I made sure I take every opportunity that is presented to me. One of the opportunities I took that changed my life was to work at a parking lot. I worked at a parking lot in Wakiso, prime day and night parking. And that's where my life started. And my dad told me, Bonnie, use this as a stepping stone to get where you want to get to. And for those of you who have not listened to my biography, the story about my life, back in episode season one, I think episode 1 or 2 or 3, those first I talk about on my journey. But like, the other thing, I was in like a regular school. I talked about this before. I didn't go to like the fancy schools, but the schools that I went to were like a medium school, but they were able to teach us to learn. And I'm thankful for that school. I went to Naluvla Rock Parent School and St. John's and also Chisubi Mapera. So shout out to my OBs and OGs from Naluvla Rock. Shout out to my OBs and OGs from St. John's Senior Secondary School, Wakiso. Shout out to my OBs and OGs from Chisui Mapea SS. I love you all. And most of you know my story. And I'm proud that I went to all those schools because they have made me who I am today. I was waking up on extra hours to read. I mentioned I was not like one of the best students, or like I was not performing really well, but I was a student that would wake up every single day, like cool winter, 4 a.m., because I knew what I wanted to be. So I knew that I'm not smart like other people. So I had to put in extra time. Like I would wake up extra time. So like there are some people who were just born smart. I don't know. I wasn't. So I'm sure there are. And for me to be on the same level, I had to put in some extra hours to catch up to where they are. So I was a student who was determined to get what I want, even if it requires some sacrifice or sacrifice sleep. I was, like I said, I didn't take a lot of snacks at school, but I was friendly. I had a lot of friends from school that one of my friends, actually, shout out to Nkangawa Patrick, uh, Kasambia Joel, that was in my high school, Ivanovic, Ivan, those three guys there at different levels of my school, they were helpful. Nga bampa ku extra gweke, bampa ku extra sugar. Nga mzee wange, he couldn't afford to give me all that. But the friends that I made in school were helping me, taking care of me. And they really did. And shout out to all of you guys. Semuju. Semuju, I think he's in Dubai right now. Shout out to you. We had a good time in high school. So yeah, I had good friends that took good care of me. Like I said, I was a kid who chased down opportunities. Every opportunity presented to me, I would take it. I would really take it. And right from high school, right from even after I finished high school, even till today, never leave those opportunities. Just take it. Even if you don't know how you're going to do it, like just take it. I'm gonna share this on here. Um, One of the things I like even today in jobs, like there are things that people don't like to do, and you might not have a lot of knowledge on how to do that thing, but try to jump in those opportunities which people try to push away. Because if people are pushing it away, they are scared to do it. And if you go and try your luck and get it, I trust you. No, I promise you, you're gonna be a step ahead of anything. So don't fear. Just be courageous and step into that opportunity that's everybody's afraid to do. And if it works out for you, it's gonna change your life. And that's how I live. Like jump into any opportunity that's available. Because if it works out, it's gonna change your life. And don't run away from it. And if you fail, that's a lesson. Like you're gonna learn, oh, I failed this time. And next time if that opportunity comes, you know where you went wrong. So just don't say no. And the word I can't, take that word out of your vocabulary and anything. So just take that out of there. Um, I was working extra than others and opportunities to change my skills. Like this goes into soccer, it goes into all the things I did. Like I knew if I had somebody who was better than me, I was trying hard to beat that person. So like I was trying to be like that person. Like how does he do it? And my dad taught me something when I was in school. He was like, you sit in the same class with a guy who was fast. One in senior one, I was number two, and I thought my dad was going to be so happy that I performed well in school. But he says, you sit in the same class with this guy who was number one, and you all listen to the same teacher. How was he better than you? And that's something that comes in back of my head is like, yeah, we share the same thing, we sit in the same class, we eat the same food. How is he better than me? So I knew there was room for improvement every single time. And it was like you have to beat that challenge that's in there. So I always had that. And even in soccer, how can I improve myself? Like, how can I be better? What can I do to change my game so coach can put me in next time? That's how I was thinking about it. Like even today, these things I'm telling you, like I am. And actually I should have called it I am. Um, but when I do something wrong next time, or like, why did I do that thing wrong? What went wrong? Try to fix it. Um, like the funny thing too, I like sports. I watch sports, and I would watch like Arsenal play, and they lose the game. The funny thing is, I go back and watch the tape. I mean, I'm just a supporter, but I go back and watch the tape. I was like, what went wrong? I want to see what went wrong. Why did we lose this game? Probably this, probably that. I'm not even the coach, but that's how I am into life, like looking at things and analyzing. Yeah. Even though that's not my life, that's not something I can change. But like I'm trying to give you an example, like that's how I do in my own life to analyze why did I get the thing wrong? Why? Um Again, this keeps coming back and back. Like I was a kid that took every opportunity. Every opportunity that was presented to me, I'll take it. I won't turn it down. And I am the guy who takes every opportunity, like present the opportunity, and I'll take it. I said I was not very knowledgeable, but I like to teach myself. Like that's something I'm working on today. I am teaching myself. Like if there's something I don't know, make good use of Google. Like people in Uganda, you have uh internet, but instead of going on Facebook and putting negative comments about people's lives, like why don't you use the time to teach yourself something? Like ask Google anything. I think Google knows everything. Just ask something that you're wondering about. why is the moon the moon? Or like, I mean, that might not be very important, but like teach yourself something. Like I like going to Google and just type in stuff and just learn podcasting. I'd never done a podcast. I'd listened to podcasts, but I was like, how can I make a podcast? And the research that I made, the searches that I was doing, they helped me to start my own podcast. And that's what I'm using today. Like teaching yourself, how can I edit? How can I do this? Like everything that I do, my podcast, I teach myself. These things I do them, I learn, do them, and so self-teaching. I wasn't very knowledgeable, but I am self-taught. Yeah. uh, I was the employee that believed. I told you I wasn't paid like highly on most of the jobs that I did, but I was that one employee that believed that money is not everything. The skill you're learning at the job, it's gonna change your life somewhere, somehow, at some point. And that's how I perceived. So like even though I was making $7 like an hour, I knew that this job is gonna give me skills that I'm gonna use somewhere where I'm gonna be paid a lot of money. And thankfully that paid off. And the skills that I have today, I did shingles, change the roof, kanika motoka, narongosa toy, kusiga lanji. I've done a lot of jobs. I've done like a lot of things. Um, and all those things that have shaped me into the person I am today. So be that employee, be that person that doesn't look at money as the ultimate goal. Yeah, money is good. You need to pay your bills, don't get me wrong. But be the person that's vigilant, that knows that the skill you're learning is going to pay off, and be happy with what you have at the time. And I was very thankful of my parents, like whatever they could provide for me. Like I said, my parents never gave me the decision to come to the US, but I remember telling them that, hey, I'm going to America. I'm gonna study. This is what I want to achieve. And my dad, mom were supportive. And I moved to America. And that's if you want to know that story too, you're gonna have to go back and listen to the first episodes. But that's who I was. That's who I am. And trying to change the things that were not right when I was younger, even though I didn't grow up in a rich home. I'm trying to change that, like work harder and change that. My goal is not to be rich in life, but to have money to sustain myself, help people, help others. So yeah, that's all I had for you today. I wanted to share a little bit about my life and just bits and bits and bits. So I've prepared this for you guys to just listen to that and get to know me about me. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review. Check out this podcast. Check out the episodes that we have. I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful. And I promise you, I'm going to keep bringing this podcast to you with guests, education, helping one another. Like I said, we rise by lifting each other up. The knowledge I have, I'm going to pass it on to you so it can help somebody out there too. So yeah, thank you very much. See you around, and hit a comment down here if you want me to talk about something. If there's any topic you want me to share about, just let me know and I will get that to you. So thank you very much and be blessed. Hey there, I am Bonny Kibuuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.